magic of the internet once again. Thank you for joining us. I am Dan Schmidt. He is Steve Bartylla. I will introduce him more thoroughly here in a minute. Ian, thank you for joining us for Deer Talk Now podcast. Ian, you know my Chevy pickup truck?
Yeah.
It's all rusted out.
Yeah.
You know what I want to do with it?
What do you want to do with it?
Okay, I want a logo from Mossberg Wildlife Research Center, 10-point Hoyt Traditions Outdoor Edge, and I'm going to turn that into a NAS truck.
Like a NASCAR hunting truck kind of.
It'll cover up all the rusted fenders and you know where the hood is all coming apart.
Oh yeah,
and everything.
Yep. Big
Wouldn't
old
that be
Wildlife
cool?
Research Center spread right across
Wildlife
the hood.
Research Center's got to be on the hood because it's 100%. A nice round circle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. I don't know why that came into my head, but I was looking at all these beautiful bright logos here, Mossberg, Temple, and I thought that was pretty cool. Steve, thank you for joining us. We're going to talk about a topic near and dear to your heart. I know you came a long way to be here today, but thanks again.
My absolute pleasure, Dan.
So Steve, as you know, he is the Grown Big, Hunt 'em Big guy, but he's also the DeerTopia guy. And I'm going to intro our conversation that this topic, I don't know if Ian or Sarah is going to call it this, but just go ahead and mock me. That's going to be the headline. You and I kind of both learned at the feet of John Ozoga when it came to deer behavior, because the stuff he wrote for the magazine for many years. One was induced signposting, and that was when he would induce rubbing among bucks. He also did a lot with mock scrapes, and I know that's kind of where you got your start with this, isn't it?
I'll be brutally honest with you. Over the years, I thought I'd come up with all sorts of magical new habitat improvement techniques, only to, in every single case, realize that, people had been doing that well before I was ever born. You know, the only thing I may have come up with on my own, I actually stole from John. And that was, I know you'll remember this. He did a study.
I remember.
On rubbing, where he went ahead and cut a bunch of popple poles and planted them, in areas that he thought the deer would rub. He also went ahead and attached and or pulled down a bunch of licking branches for mock scrapes. I will never forget this. I'm managing a property in southeastern Minnesota. I'm sitting on a food plot, and there's this island of brush in the middle, and every dang deer that came over there went straight for that island. And I'm saying, God, I wish you could just... what? And I started thinking about what John did. What if I were to cut a tree that, when planted 3 feet into the ground, could serve for both rubbing and offered a bunch of lick branches? I went ahead and did that the next day, killed the buck I was after. That's it. At the fake scrape tree I just planted 2 hours before that. Why? Because all the other deer were there schooled around it. It wasn't, some of them were scraping more than anything. It was just, this is new. This tree isn't supposed to be here. But quite honestly, as I said, if, to my knowledge, no one else had ever done that before me, I got it from John.
That was fascinating. I remember when we published that, and I remember the research because I had to reread that article so many times because it was written in scientific speak, and because, there was never real solid, never in research is like, this is how it goes, this is how it goes. No. It was like, this is what we did, and this was the result. And that's what I found fascinating. Now, your experience there was well over 30 years ago, and you have been doing it now routinely on properties that you manage with mock scrapes, not only getting deer to use them, but getting their deer to use them when you want them to use them.
Within reason.
Within reason.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I started playing around with mock scrapes way before. I love making deer dance. When I can go out there and do something and get the response I want, we're all different. I get a rush out of that. I literally get a rush. I've been playing around with our golden ropes, and I've actually got it so that if you attach that golden rope to a autumn olive that's got a nice springy branch, that I kid you not, I've created a playground. The fawns figured it out. If they grab that rope and pull it as hard as they can let it go and snap it.
Mm-hmm.
So the first day that fawn figured that, it took them all the way until January. But the first day that fawn figured, they'd been working it a whole bunch. It sat there and played with that stupid rope for a half hour before it got it hung up in a tree.
It's like a dog playing with a chew toy.
Yeah, until it got it hung. And then, I swear, the next pictures of a buck that's been working, and I'm sorry, he's mad. He is, where's my lick branch, my lick vine? It's gone. You can literally, he's sitting there walking right the whole day. He's been working this for months. So then a couple days later, Mom figures out, oh, if I get up on my back legs, I can grab that with my mouth. And I'm telling you, since then, that has literally been a toy that the entire resident... Why do I share that? Well, A, because when you're 60 years old and you've been doing something your whole dang life and you see something you haven't seen before, well, that's pretty exciting for me. But B, the real point is, when you can go ahead and make that mock scrape an actual hub of any type of activity. In this case, I've got bucks rubbing on it. I guarantee I've got a Reconics cell cam on it. I guarantee I've got pictures of bucks today working that rope.
This is being filmed here, just so everybody knows. I'm not sure when this is being deployed, but this is being filmed in April.
Yeah, I promise you, today I will have somewhere right around, give or take a couple, half dozen does visit this rope, and I will have 1 to 5 bucks actually work. Now he's not urinating, he's not kicking dirt, but he is going up there and literally scent marking it with his face and sniffing it. The more you can turn those things into social hubs, and I'm telling you, mock scrapes are the most underutilized resource. Virtually everything in hunting is overhyped. And geez, when I first started breaking in, mock scrapes were overhyped ridiculously, and I frankly think that's why most people don't use them that much. Because no, I am not going to go out there and make a mock scrape and pull that buck from 5 ridges away.
That was my
It's
question.
not going to happen.
My question, and something that you've explained, is that you can't just throw one in the middle of an old abandoned Kmart parking lot, and that's my analogy I always use, and expect deer to come through there just because you put a mock scrape there.
Heck no. It is by far, the 5 most important factors in making mock scrapes work are location, not leaving stink around and making it decent. Making it appear somewhat natural. But there's the first 3 are if you want to get super good at working with mock scrapes and such, start with nothing but the branches and the ropes. Yes, scent helps a ton, but if you go ahead and stick that branch or rope in the right place, right in that buck's nose, it's like it's a reflex no different than the doctor hitting your knee with a hammer. It's like they can't even help it. The one thing I will suggest is whenever you make a mock scrape, and what I've found actually works the very best for me, is one of Wildlife Research Center's golden ropes. I tend not to talk about products much, but their concentrated rope scent is the single best mock scrape scent I have ever used in my life, bar none.
What is it about the rope as opposed to just using a branch?
I think well, I use,
obviously they're using branches all day long.
As you're about to find out, I use both.
Right.
But the rope, I believe, I don't know, I have never learned how to speak to, I've learned how to speak to deer. I've never learned how to interpret what they say back, okay, other than their actions. So I can't tell you exactly, but from the best I can figure, the reason they like that rope so darn much is because it absorbs and holds odors. The branch, yeah, you'll leave odors on it, but they're going to last for anywhere, depending on the conditions, anywhere 24, 48, 72 hours. On that branch.
You're talking about the scent.
Yes, the scent. But now you actually impregnate it into that rope, and the best I can figure is that scent lasts a lot longer. But what I've found, I actually did a ridiculous amount of time. I've got, as we speak, right now.
Lots of videos of it. I didn't know that.
Right now, I've probably got somewhere over 100 mock scrapes going right now. Mm-hmm. Now, the overwhelming majority of them are not doctored at this point, okay, with sense. But the most effective that I have come up with so far is to have a rope hanging here and have that licking branch no more than a foot or two away from it. And I'll go ahead
in combination,
I'll go ahead and I soak that rope in the concentrated rope scent. I fill that scent dripper with golden scrape. The question, and if there's not a branch there that I want, I'll attach a branch. They've got wildlife research centers selling brackets for that. And you know what? If I don't happen to, I can use wire. I can use nails. I can use, there's all sorts. I can go ahead and grab a branch, pull it down, and wire it so it's in place. Be creative.
Is the rope, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is the rope just more of a curiosity thing? I mean, I think you're not positive.
No. They will go ahead and, it's no different than a vine hanging in the woods.
Which works.
Which works magnificently for some reason. The problem is there's not always vines where you need them.
Sometimes you come across them, and if you do, and it's a good area, cut that thing at about,
Make it so it just is right when it's the edge, the end, when that deer walks through is right in its nose.
Deer Talk Now is brought to you by Outdoor Edge and their new Ergomax 6-piece professional grade processing knife set. Take your wild game processing to the next level with this top-tier set, which includes 5 expertly designed knives tailored for every task. Plus, the included 2-stage sharpener ensures your blades stay incredibly sharp no matter the job. For more information, go to OutdoorEdge.com.
Everybody asks about height. Everybody asks about when you're attaching licking branches, what species do you want to use? The species I want to use is hardwoods without thorns.
So it doesn't get chewed up and destroyed immediately.
Exactly. The thorns, because heck.
Go ahead and put an aspen branch up there. It's not going to be there for very long.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want the thorns because obvious reasons. I've seen deer work. I have natural scrapes where they're using those thorn branches, those licking branches, all over the place.
Buckthorn, yeah.
Yeah, I mean we're talking the ones with 1.5 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch stickers on.
Wait a minute, stickers. Yeah,
I mean it's like, and they go ahead and use them as licking branches. Obviously, they're okay with that. I'm not, because I don't want to go ahead and do unnecessary damage. I could poke out an eye. Gosh knows what I could do with that.
You're saying species doesn't really matter as long as it's hardwood.
The only reason that I'm even talking hardwood, you already stole the thunder from that, it's because I don't want to replace them every 10 minutes. Right. If I go ahead and put an oak branch as a licking branch, odds are really good that I'm going to get a couple of years out of it. If I use a softwood, I'll be if I'm actually getting work on that mock scrape, I'll be lucky if it lasts a week.
Right.
If you're really, and even after answering that, I do this on every day. I do free tips on Steve Bartylla Outdoors, and anytime I ever do that tip, I still, even after explain, but what species should I use? If you're really that hung up on it, just look at the best way to learn any of this stuff is follow the best teachers there are in the world on this stuff. That's the deer. If you're overly concerned about what licking branch to use, just go out there and inspect a bunch of the scrapes they're doing naturally.
Right.
And use those. Me personally.
And you're going to learn. You're going to learn that in some areas, like by us, they don't, for whatever reason, they don't like hickory. And I don't know why. I should say they don't like it as much as a red oak. I agree that species, test it. Do it yourself. Go out and try it.
And the other thing to keep in mind is I don't care who you are. I don't care how much experience you have. Every single thing is going to work different for different people. Mm-hmm. All I can do is explain what works, what I've found that works best for me so far. So I've got the rope. I've got the Magnum scrape dripper hung up high enough so that the deer aren't getting their antlers tangled into it or suckling on the dripper or anything goofy like that. And then a licking branch, as I said, within a foot or two. But here's the key. Within 5 yards of this, I've got another licking branch prepped or rope hung that it hasn't done a darn thing, because I have found that my experience, the overwhelming majority of deer are more than happy to go ahead and work scrapes other deer have opened up themselves. But there's that percent out there that, yeah, that mock scrape gets them all geeked up, but I ain't going to work that thing. So you go ahead and have yourself another licking branch within 5 yards or so, and all of a sudden you pick up an extra 10, 15, 20% extra deer activity. And I use mock scrapes for two goals. One is to waste time. Hunting and management is nothing more than a game of seconds so often. Every time I get a buck to work a mock scrape on my side of the fence, or a lick branch or whatever, that is that much longer before they're going to get to the other side. That's one way I use it. The other way I use it is simply to position them. If I'm dealing with an open food source that I cannot cover with my weapon, 15 to 20 yards in front of that stand, I'm going to go ahead and cut, and I'm either going to do it with posts and make it myself, or I'm going to cut a tree that, when buried 3 feet in the ground, I can point those licking branches back at that stand. And now, is every single deer out there going to come over and check this? No, not every single one. But I don't care. All I need is the one I want to shoot. And is he going to do it every time? No. But he's going to do it more than he otherwise would. And I point those licking branches back to the stand so that now, when he's working that scrape, he is actually positioning himself for a shot, and his attention is the exact opposite direction of me. So I have all day long to come to full draw, shoulder the weapon, whatever, aim, and take a nice calm shot. And those are really the two biggest ways I utilize mock scrapes. Wasting time on my property and trying to position them. Virtually every stand I put out has a mock scrape. If nothing else, just that licking branch prepared. And it's to try to get them to stop and position. When it comes to in-woods staging plots, having a staging plot is awesome, but I am one greedy son of a gun. Yeah, I want to pick up those deer that are going from bedding to feeding and back again in the morning. But I also want to pick up those bucks that are out there just cruising. And if I can get on a half acre staging plot, I'm going to have a minimum of a half dozen lick branches.
Right.
And I'm going to have at least, if I've got one stand on it, I will have one full-blown scrape that's within shooting distance, pointing back towards me. If I have very often on staging plots, I set up 2 stands because I want to be able to hunt it more than just with one window. When that's the case, I'll have 2. The rest are just licking branches or ropes. Prepped, sitting there waiting, so I can create. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create that communication hub, feeding frenzy of communication here. And I'm about to wrap up. Deer will work licking branches year-round, but they're not working the licking branches of every scrape that they have during the fall. It's a very small percentage of them. What I'm really trying to do, and this is why when I'm out turkey hunting, I'm out scouting, doing that stuff, I'm making mock scrapes too. Because if I can get them to work that now, oh man, is it ever going to be a fun fall there.
What is it going to be like September, October? I've actually experienced it. And you guys can see some of these successful hunts on Grown Big, Hunt 'em Big, DeerTopia, Deer and Deer Hunting TV. We've had some. But I really like the way that you talk about positioning the scrapes, pointing them back to the stand, because it does work. And how many times have you thought in your head, if you're hunting, man, if a deer could just show up right there, have his head down and be facing the other way, slightly quartering, that's what you can do with a mock scrape.
Well, and it's not going to happen every single time.
It might happen once that fall.
But if it happens one time when you need it,
that's what makes it important.
To me, all this is, of course, I would absolutely love it. And if any of you guys know, or girls, please let me know of something that was going to change the world for me just like that. I've never found it. What I find is I can do this, and that's going to make a 1% difference. I can do that, and that's going to make a 3% difference. Oh, this is another 1.5% difference maker over here. Holy man, this is all the way up to 4. And you get enough of those, and you add them together. And yeah, that 5%, 10% bump isn't that. I mean, in my opinion, a 10% bump is actually pretty darn good.
It's very good.
Most people aren't going to be impressed with that. But you get up over 15, 20%. You get up around 25%
Hey, it
bump.
sure beats 0.
Now all of a sudden if you're killing, you get a 25% bump. All of a sudden, if you're killing deer 3 out of every 4, now you're killing them every 4 years. That's pretty darn
It's improving your odds.
Yeah, and that's all. There are so ridiculously many things we can't control. And I have learned the hard way, when you focus on what you can't control, it is pure mental masturbation. Nothing good whatsoever comes from it. A lot of bad, nothing good. Instead, take those energies and focus on what the few things that you can control. That is where, that's where I feel I make a difference in my hunting, is by laser focusing on what I can control. And I can pick up a 1% bump over here, a 0.5% bump over there, a 2% bump over here, and next thing you know, I'm cooking with gas, baby.
Cooking with gas. We should call it the podcast episode that, Cooking with Gas. Or we could just say 10 to 20% happier or more deer, which is probably one and the same. Steve, thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate it. People can check you out.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Dan. I'm going to throw in one more thing here real quick.
Let you do it.
Because this is mission critical. Cut your odors before you do this.
Oh, good point.
That whitetail has sent. What is that deer? I don't care if you're talking about a fawn. What is that deer doing when it's inspecting that mock scrape?
It's smelling.
Exactly. Its sense of smell is
licking its nose. It's wetting that epithelium. It is all about scent.
It's on overdrive, and we can't even pretend to be able to smell when it comes to deer. Okay. By comparison, the way they communicate through this stuff, we can't even begin to comprehend. Cut your odors before you do this stuff. I'm not saying you have to be in there with all your hunting stuff, but you better be spraying down your rubber boots, and you better be wearing gloves that are treated. And try not to breathe on the licking branch.
It puts odor on there. Just a couple molecules. It makes a huge difference. Check out Steve's page at Facebook. It's just Steve Bartylla. It's his public page. Also, check out Steve's videos that I mentioned. And please check us out, deeranddeerhunting.com, Deer and Deer Hunting on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, wherever you can find us. And all we ask you to do is like and subscribe. Ian, did we cover everything we needed to cover in this one?
I think so. It was pretty thorough.
I know. And Steve's got my head spinning because I'm always thinking and I'm always trying to come up with new ideas. Steve, thank you again.
My supreme pleasure and honor, my friend.
All right. We will catch you again next week, Thursday, for another brand new episode of Deer Talk Now. The Deer Talk Now podcast is brought to you by Mossberg, Wildlife Research Center, Traditions Firearms, Outdoor Edge Knives, Hoyt Archery, and 10 Point Crossbows.